Hello and welcome back to Exeter City, where I have played through most of the remainder of the season. 2 games to go, and we're exactly where I thought we'd be. I'll get you caught up. So following that 7-1 loss away at Man United, we did beat Bristol Rovers in the FA Cup, but we were promptly knocked out by Leicester in what was the biggest FAing of this entire game cycle. For me, 2.72 XG to 0.5, and we lost 1-0. And that is a theme that runs across most of our losses, actually. Even with 10 men, for the majority of the game against Manchester City, we came out of that with an even XG. In fact, no goals were actually scored after Castillo was sent off in the 37th minute, and then Maria was sent off in the 94th. The 3-2 loss to Norwich, similarly. We were the better team, and even the 4-1 loss to Spurs was an even XG fight. 24 shots we had. 24. 10 on target to their 11 on target, 4-1 loss. In fact, I think most of their shots came towards the end of that game because I'm pretty certain Sanchez had let in 4 of 5 shots on target by the time that 4th goal had gone in. So at least he did some saves towards the end of that game. But victories against Watford, who are terrible, Leicester, who are similarly bafflingly terrible, Fulham, Brentford and Aston Villa, probably the most important victory of them all there, at home, has seen our fortune home and away completely invert. I'm just highlighting the home games rather than bringing them forward. As you can see there, the only one we lost was Burnley. But all that means is we are 11th, we can get 10th, we can fall to 12th. That is it. And because Newcastle have already played their 37th game, if we were to win this one, we can't even be 12th. Season preview-wise, we're no longer bottom predicted. 800 to 1 now is the prediction, and we are ahead of Newcastle, who are predicted 5th. Aston Villa currently absolutely nailing their prediction of 10th. But we've persevered with this formation. They don't like each other for whatever reason. What is going on here? We've got 46 points. How can they not be getting along? Although Sangare clearly was injured before this game and I didn't even notice. Mansley already injured, so we'll just have 3 strikers on the bench. In terms of team news and team changes, the only major change is the fact that my front line has completely inverted. Rather than Johnson and Aribe leading the line, in this second half of the season, I found myself playing Tiggers and Saunders. Tiggers has scored 3, Saunders now up to 8 goals. Perkins has got into the double digits again. He's now up to 11. He scored a direct free kick recently, which was a novelty. But Sanchez in goal, Martin at left back, Luan Perez, Arsby and Castillo. They are inverted wing backs now, and you can see from Dennis Castillo's rating and Aaron Martin's rating over the last 5, it's working. Castillo has an average rating of 7.1 over the last 5 games he's played and still has an overall season rating of 6.73, which 100% shows you the season he's had. Very much a season of 2 halves for him. Randall will obviously just step into that ball-winning midfielder role as the best player there. By the way, I've realised Randall is actually probably a centre-back. Yeah, he's a centre-back that needs more composure and decisions, but he's a centre-back. In fact, he could probably do ball playing with a little bit more technique, but because his passing's there and his vision isn't woeful, his technique needs to be better for that. But for the remainder of this season, he will just play as the ball-winning midfielder. But I would like to win this one because then against Wolves I can just play whoever I want. Ashton, Perkins and Markovic remain in the midfield and Tiggers and Saunders up front as I just mentioned. The one thing the inverted wingback does here is with the 2 Mazzalas who go a little bit wider as midfielders, the inverted wingbacks effectively 50-50 either go inside them or around them. They still go around them, they still stick wide on occasion, but it gives them that freedom to choose which way they want to run. I tried them both on attack for a game or 2 and it didn't quite work, so I've left Aaron Martin as the only one on attack and he's scored twice. Randall finds Hesham here, Saunders, Markovic. Just going to pause it here. You can see Castillo's remaining on the outside of Markovic and Aaron Martin is still remaining on the outside of Hesham here. But Castillo will find Markovic and Randall now. Back to Arsby. Obviously does leave us exposed to the back, particularly against 2 striker systems against us, but Tiggers now plays that down to Hesham, and that's Perkins through the middle doing central midfielder attack stuff, and he's hit the post. You've hit a lot of woodwork as well in the second half of the season. Someone Martinez for them. I want to say in advance, in case I sneeze through a major highlight that I can't edit out, I apologise in advance for that. Hay fever is doing a thing at the moment. I think that's Yusuf Demir, by the way, in a Palace shirt. Not sure how or why, and Sargent scored for them. He scored 10 goals. That feels wrong. Why did Crystal Palace have Yusuf Demir? How bad is he in this save? Where's he gone as a wonder kid? Sorry, I'm now just confused by this. Oh, it's not Yusuf Demir, that's why. Does Demir appear as Demir in the game? And now I'm curious to know where he actually is. But yeah, they have David Brooks and Josh Sargent. Of course, they were the team that also acquired Tyrese Campbell, who scored an inordinate amount of goals last year for a team that was relegated. Palace beat me to that signing. I do wonder where our season would be if we'd acquired a Tyrese Campbell, because, yeah, he'd have been a massive goal outlet if he kept up the same form as he did for Sheffield United. I don't know how many he scored this year for Palace, but they're going down as well. Tiggers, Aaron Martin again. Perkins finds Markovic on the edge of the box, and it's an attempt. I do love being FM'd. Aaron Martin, deep free kick. He is better than free kicks than Perkins, but he wasn't on them for whatever reason. You notice there, they just said Martin Saunders had a 25% header ratio, and I don't know why we're aiming at his head. Aim for the tall one. Pickering finds Martinez's back post. That will count as offside. I don't really know why, unless he was offside to start with. If he was onside to start with, then the game has messed up there. He was offside to start with. That's fine then. All good. It wouldn't have counted either way. We're clearly getting chances in the background. We're just not seeing them. There's Yusuf. Again. Just passing it off to Gilbert, who's managed to keep that ball somehow. Miraculously. Crystal Palace are enjoying themselves, says the text at the bottom. They are 1-0 up away from home. Although not that far away from home. They've only had to pop over to Millwall. You may have noticed a testimonial in there, by the way, for Matt J. I only did it then because we had 2 weeks off. And I wanted to have a game in there. And I figured if I got Matt J's testimonial in now, then I'm free to sell him in the summer. And I'll feel less bad about it. We played Pumas because I'm pretty certain we've sold at least 2 players to them. I would have done Blackburn if they were an option. But Firouz Sule and Josh Key came back for that one. They were the only 2. We haven't exactly had a catalogue of players leave yet. We're 1-0 down on our entire back lines on 7s. What is going on? I'm just going to change both strikers. Because why the heck not? But then similarly, maybe Markovic for Wepu, who is right-footed. I did have a question at one stage about the footedness of the Mazzalas. Because there was one game where I had them the wrong way round, effectively. We've hit the post again. But there was one game where I had a right foot on the left and a left foot on the right. And the first highlight I saw was the left foot on the right-hand side coming onto the ball outside of the box and having a crack with his left foot. And I thought, oh, that could be a thing. And then I just never continued with it. But Aribi is going to get on the end of this. He was dropped as a first choice despite his price tag. He did get a Columbia cap, weirdly, despite the fact he wasn't playing. But Aaron Martin puts this ball in and just hits Pickering first and foremost. That's not going to go down well, is it? Well, at least Crystal Palace do have 1 XG, which means they should have scored a goal. The fact that we've got 3, though, basically, are they about to score a second? Please don't score a second. Well, that's ruined the home-away form thing for the second half of this season. They are 19th, though I should have seen this coming. I didn't double-check how good their prospects were for getting out of the bottom 3. Max O'Leary's had the game of his life there. 13 shots on target. How many goals has Campbell scored this year? Only 8. And the assistant, for once, says the right thing. Meanwhile, in the grand scheme of things, by the way, 7-1. I'd already highlighted the fact there was a 8-0 victory for Liverpool over Fulham at one point. Spurs beat Norwich 9-2. There is definitely something in this year's game where a few years into a Premier League campaign, the top teams in the Premier League become unbelievable. Those big scoring matches happen a lot. And sometimes it's not even the big teams as well, as we saw with the Wolves. Was it 7-2 over Leicester? Those massive scorelines happen more and more often. Oh, Palace can get out of the bottom 3. I should have seen that one coming then. Okay, so we can't get 10th. I didn't realise Aston Villa played Watford. Both cup finals have been Man United versus Newcastle. Also, for some reason, the FA Cup's happening now. And Newcastle win the FA Cup. They lost the Carabao, but they won the FA Cup, which was the more important of the 2. Which means Newcastle will have European football, despite being 12th. Oh, I've just noticed Bournemouth drew as well, which effectively means Palace and Norwich are relegated, just on goal difference. But 5-goal swing, actually, isn't impossible there. The one thing I just noticed there, though, was Wolves and Everton, 65 points. Everton with a good goal difference, too. Chelsea and Man United on 66 points. Spurs on 69, so either of them could sneak into 4th. Despite Chelsea's really bad season, they could sneak into 4th here. Unlikely because of the goal difference, but Man United could do it. But Everton and Wolves, because Newcastle just won the FA Cup, someone's going to be massively disappointed at the end of this season. I'll just round up admin news here. We have finally improved our youth recruitment. I got the option at last. Ignore the affiliate club. I didn't go through with it because I got the same set of teams and I'd already run out of all the good affiliates there. So until we actually get, I think, a youth option in the affiliate list, then I can't actually get another good team. Either that or it's based on my reputation, one of the two. So until one of those improves, I think I'm stuck with the 2 affiliates that I've got already. Youth level is being improved still, of course. That's happening at the end of the season. We'll be Category 2 at the end of the season. We're also doing our youth facilities again, after our training facilities were completed. All that means is we now have 12 youth recruitment. All of them are 10 plus. And my face has disappeared. Also, something's gone wrong there with that image. I don't know what's going on. I think the only other thing to mention is the fact that Baba Mansley did get a new contract as well in the off time. He came to me. He wouldn't wait till the end of the season. I figured he had a release clause of low 30 million, which I wanted to improve. So I gave him the contract, but his agent wouldn't not have a 41 million pound release clause instead. So it's gone up by about 10 million, but it's still got a release clause, and his value is still in that ballpark. So once again, just undervaluing him on his transfer value to prevent those bids. He's finding him actually making notable improvements as well, across the board. Only passing is exceptional at this point, but he is making improvements. I will also say that Uribe, despite not performing well, has shot up in his overall, basically every attribute's gone up. His acceleration and pace have entered the 16 boundaries. His agility was already good. I think his agility might have been 16 to start with. I think that might have gone up too. Oh no, he's 18 to begin with. But his heading's gone up, his finishing's gone up, that one that we needed to go up. Dribbling and first touch both started on 13s. Everything is going up. But his acceleration and I'm definitely saying his acceleration and pace. The natural fitness is a problem though. It's gone from 6 to 7. I'll be honest, I did miss the natural fitness thing when I signed him, evidently. I should have mentioned just after finishing talking about a player that we agreed to sign before he turned 18. I'd done a bunch of those. You'll see them in due course. I don't think any of them sign this summer, but one of them will come in January, next January. Oh, you remember how Harvard added a 800 grand or so bonus if they stayed up on this Rajkovic loan? They did it comfortably. They could actually get European football here. So yeah, a loan which cost them 1.2 million to begin with, now basically cost them 2 million. I don't know why it says 975. I think that's obviously not including his wages. Sorry. Maidstone have made an offer to loan Jason Henry to the end of the season. Is that not like tomorrow? Sure. I don't know what this means. Oh, for next season. Right, that makes more sense. I mean, important player, you're probably about his level. Off you go. That confused me. Speaking of past youth who probably won't ever make the team, youth candidates came through. I think, in terms of just raw potential, this is our best youth intake so far, which is understandable, of course, because we are developing year on year. We've had better intakes, just pure star rating wise, but that's obviously comparative to the team at the time. We've obviously massively developed as a team, and therefore these potentials have largely adjusted as such. There's 2 here that still have potential at the top there. 3.5-star minimum, 4-star minimum on those 2 would get them to Premier League level, low-level Premier League level, if they reached that. The 5-star on Chami, the goalkeeper, is obviously the question mark, because that suggests the potential of unknown. Wow, his value is actually quite good. That value's changed. But yeah, he's not spectacular to begin with, but he exists. And I will say, 2 players here that are 1.5 star as well, Fraser and Ian O'Leary. Leary in particular with a 3-star minimum potential as well. So they're sort of players that could become squad players. But the problem is, of course, by the time they get good enough to be squad players, they probably won't be good enough to be squad players. 2 at the top might just about do it if their potentials are accurate. I do just want to check Leicester because they're just showing relief that they didn't get relegated. How did they do in Europe? Oh, they didn't have European football. I thought that was why they were terrible. Oh no. It's Everton that's entered that mix in this save, not Leicester. And they've kept on it this year, 7th. Although I think they will miss out just because of obviously where the cups have gone. No end of year signings agreed yet either. There's only really 2 players that I'd be interested in. One of them's an English player in the English league, so I can't do anything of that until June. But far from aware, he's not been picked up yet. And the other one is a relatively major quality player and has no interest, of course, because this is still a thing. We're here. I would say that this is reliant on waiting to the end of the season for a reputation bump, but Watford have clearly gone down in the reputation, so I don't know what to think about this now. I'm hoping there's a reputation bump at the end of the year, otherwise we're stuffed again. Finally replacing a couple of staff members there. Keep loaning at club. Sonny Perkins recently just hit 125 games for Exeter and 50 goals. Should we just try and buy him soon? What is his value, out of curiosity? 32 million. And he wants to be a Mazzala rather than the centre midfielder attack. For a player who doesn't like big games, he has been our most consistently fantastic player. Every year I do this dance, and every year I end up reloading him. Well, 3 players in the World Cup, I'll let you know who wins this. But Mansley's going to be there for Senegal, Ola Aina for Nigeria, and Hesham for Egypt. He's one of Egypt's best players, actually, and he's 19. He has 15 caps already. He's another player that needs more natural fitness. But it is going up, thankfully. So the final day sees West Ham play Chelsea. That's a nice derby for the final day. Spurs v City. I don't think it'll do too much just because... Oh, Man United have Watford, actually. So there's a very good chance that Man United nick 4th here. If their goal difference is only 1 behind, so as long as Spurs lose and Man United win, that goal difference is inverted and they will go ahead of them. Interesting. Which then basically means Spurs will be 5th and Chelsea, Everton and Wolves are all stuffed for that last European spot, guaranteed. 6th will obviously go to the league as well because Man United won the Carabao, but there's going to be 2 teams massively disappointed out of Everton, Wolves and Chelsea at the end of this, and we play Wolves, so we're deciding this in some respect, with nothing really to play for other than not being 12th. A lot of questionable performance lines on this page right now, and I don't like it, but in the interest of getting as many people as much game time as possible in this final game of the season, Sanchez in goal, Martin Murillo alongside Arsby. I don't know why their relationship soured. Castillo, Sangre behind Perkins and Hesham. I've no idea why Sangre and Perkins has a relationship. I don't know why that one's soured either. And Saunders or Uribe up front. Uribe's not been great, but at the same time, Tiggers doesn't need development. So we'll get Uribe some game time. The fact he got a cap for Colombia and hasn't been called up for the World Cup is a little odd, though. I'm guessing they just had a crisis up front that allowed him to sneak in there. I'm keeping my eye on another Colombian. He won't join yet. Murillo finds Arsby, and we've got a highlight kickoff. A kickoff highlight. Oh, one day I'll say those words in the right order. Castillo finds Uribe immediately, and, well, that sums things up, doesn't it? Why are they passing it between themselves and the goalkeeper? Someone could have capitalised there. Now, if Uribe could learn just to aim just one side of that post, preferably the good side, that would be fantastic, but yet he's not done that. Perkins does know how to do it, and that is 12 goals for the season, 10 for the league as well. You saw he was on 9 there in the league. So he does make double digits in league goals for 4 years running for us. And it's 1-0 Exeter within 5 minutes. And we return to terrible at home and fantastic away, apparently. I will, rather than having our formation up there, pop the tabling, because I do want to see how things are developing. In fact, rather than having the formations on entirely, I will just put the leagues in. League and scores. Adams, inwards to Johnny, Tomato. They're still there. Jonas Wind tends to have a good career in Football Manager. Let's scores and the table, please. You don't really need to see below 9th, so that's fine. We'll do it that way around. And Man United have already gone ahead of Spurs because Vlahovic has scored from Man City and Man United have already scored twice. Tapsoba took their penalty. Tapsoba. I mean, that's just taking the Michael, isn't it? I know Watford are terrible, but come on. We do sort of vaguely need to pay attention to Bournemouth, Palace and Norwich, but it's very unlikely Palace and Norwich get out of that bottom 3. Fabio Silva will... I mean, the animation didn't look great, but also at the same time, it did not look like Fabio Silva was ever going to get to that ball. But the penalty's been awarded nonetheless. I didn't realise fouls were given for shoulder checks. But Jonas Wind has only scored 4 goals, and that was a penalty, so I do wonder how many more of them were penalties. Goes the right way, does Sanchez, just nowhere near far enough. Markovic fouls Johnny there, and they've got a free kick as a result. I don't really know why we saw the foul part of that. Well, he's run off with his arm up, so this is counting. I do wish FM23 is going to have to do something about free kicks, because it really doesn't matter what you do with free kicks. No one ever marks anyone, and half the time they just let them run ahead of them. And then on your version, you're always offside. Free kicks are massive problems in this year's game, and I don't know why. But we're now losing, so that's fantastic news. And Semedo's been left wide open. Nelson Semedo scored 10 goals. Is he playing right back or is he playing winger here? Because he does not seem to be... That cannot be a fullback position. That cannot... I know inverted wing backs are good, but that cannot be a fullback. No, he is playing fullback. Alrighty then. After a very bright start, we've done literally nothing, and Wolves have had the measure of us. But we've got the ball now, he says, half expecting Aaron Martin just to walk the ball to the opponent, and Sangre with a sensational... What the... There was so much sensation. I was already about to wax lyrical about this, and then Saunders, from nowhere, gets goal of the season, I imagine. Well, for this team at least. And suddenly 3-2. And their goalkeeper has let in 2 shots out of 2. We are being pushed back, and I don't really know why. I might flip this and go cautious. And I've accidentally let this run over in case I wanted to make subs. But both fullbacks are... I'm hoping for at least 2 minutes of injury time here. Both fullbacks are booked, and I don't really appreciate that. And it's Uribe versus Markovic in terms of who I want to take off here. And in the interest of getting, hopefully, someone 15 minutes of game time, Kuzu on for Uribe. I did put Kuzu on the bench just for this purpose. He sort of disappeared into 5th choice since the arrival. Please come on immediately. They did not come on immediately. I'm hoping to catch him on the break here. Hello, we've got a corner. Perkins finds Mario, and he's headed it straight to Lafont. Not the end of the highlight. As my centre-backs race back to our half, he throws it out to Nathan Semedo. I was massively anticlimactic. He took so long to do any form of counter-attack, it no longer turned into a counter-attack. Lafont, up to Manifer on this left-hand side. I mean, they're playing it nice and safely at this point in time. Looks like Pedro Neto's got the measure of his defender there, and Mario's got the ball and hasn't got the ball simultaneously. Schrodinger's tackle there. And Semedo... Alright, is that the game we're playing then? Saunders is injured meanwhile in the background. How did Mario not end up with the ball there? Is what I want to know. Just, Nelson Semedo's turned into a completely different player in this game. Mind you, he's got 11 goals. What have they been doing with Nelson Semedo this year for him to do that? Clearly all season. I mean, it's not a spectacular end to this season. I mean, far from pleased with the result, obviously. He didn't play that well either. I mean, Wolves were fighting for something, of course, and Norwich do end up winning on the front. Palace also won on the last day, but it looks like Bournemouth might have done. Yeah, Bournemouth beat Burnley. So Palace and Norwich relegated. Don't know what players they've got. West Ham beat Chelsea to ruin Chelsea's chance of Europe. And despite obviously beating us, Wolves are going to miss out by virtue of Everton winning as well, who beat Newcastle, who ironically stole the last European spot anyway, by way of the FA Cup. So... And Man City gift Manchester United Champions League football as well. I think Manchester City fans would have preferred they'd lost that match. But it's still still 19 million payout, which is 10 million more than last year. By the way, ironically, in the game, Isaac Hayden went to Norwich. That's a transfer that's happened in real life. Meanwhile, Lucas Prato did indeed end up retiring in the end of the first season, despite the fact he had a 2-year contract, decided to only do one of those years, mentoring our players, which means I'm going to need to find new mentors. Meanwhile, joining us from the Championship will be Leeds and Huddersfield. Brighton and Sheffield United have lost the first round of playoffs. They were 3rd and 4th. So it will be Forest or Southampton again at last. I'd love it to be Forest just for that to happen in the game as well. They've not been up yet. But time for the review. I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of our new youngsters bedded in particularly well. So I'm not expecting fantastic numbers here. Cooper in the 2 games he played got 7.15. Tiggers got 7.0 in the 10 games he played. 13 off the bench. Sean Longstaff did okay in the minimal appearances he made. Pontus Darberg only played in cup games, so that 7 is massively inflated. And Sangare, the best value player. But Robert Sanchez did only concede, well, not that many goals, I don't think. I will check on him. Well, he conceded 16.38, so it wasn't fantastic. It's better than he did at Blackburn. Gerard Randall actually performed rather well, but he's got a price tag to live up to. It's 20 million guaranteed, 11 in extras maybe. Hopefully he either justifies them or they never come to pass. Luan Perez, for 5 million, did well. Obviously, the permanent transfer of Mario ended up with a B as well, with a 6.89 rating. Hessian was disappointing. Cost me £9 million, he did. He was a transfer I made largely off the basis of past Egyptians. Castillo was obviously disappointing, but he had a season of 2 offs, and despite being sent off immediately in his first game as an inverted wingback, 7.4, 7.9, 7.5, 7.2, 7.3, a couple of higher 6 points, and then a 6.5 in the last game. Very much enjoy being an inverted wingback, even though that wasn't his best position. Bravely fight against relegation was the board expectation, and of course we finished 11th because Newcastle lost still. So I did think we dropped to 12th, but Newcastle lost. That's kind of the story of the season, really. Even when we sort of go on a losing run, we didn't really lose positions just because the other teams were also bad. There's very much a discrepancy in this year's season between the very good teams and the very bad teams. It wasn't a close season across the table, that's for sure. 4-0 against Leicester was the biggest win, of course. The match to remember was Aston Villa 2-0 away at the beginning of the season, when we weren't good. And goal of the season was indeed Saunders' strike in that last game. I called it when it happened. Yeah, I mean, that tracks, really. Signing the season, Sangare. Player of the season, Perkins, remains. Martin ended with 8 assists. 12 goals being the highest goal scorer is a problem, though. But it is still a record high. 7 more points than last year. Players in the best 11. All bench players, I think. Mansley, Martin and Johnson. I'm surprised Aaron Martin hasn't gone in first at left back now over Fleming. Because Fleming was only with us 2 years. And now Aaron Martin's been with us 2 years. So the fact that Cameron Dawson is still our first choice goalkeeper in this is remarkable. I know we've basically only had one goalkeeper a year, every year. But still fight bravely. Build the new stadiums returned. Have we got information on that? No. So I need to tell this lot we need to fight bravely again. It's a stupid system, but at least I know how to work it. This is a public service announcement. Just say what the board thing is. What the board expect is what you tell the players. And you'll get greens. Simple as that. Don't say what you want, say what the board wants. And then people won't be annoyed at you. Arsby gets young player of the season. Arsby's a confusing one because he is our best performer in centre-back, but he's also the worst potential at centre-back out of the young players. Yeah, his potential's very much cropped off now at 3, maybe 4. So whether he's going to get really any better than this, I don't know. He reminds me a lot of a player out of York. I can't remember his exact name now. I think it began with an M. He was an international new gen. I think he came from Panama or Honduras, one of those, someone like that, somewhere like that. And he developed to this kind of level and his potential capped off kind of here. And we ended up sort of holding him hostage really for a couple of years longer than we probably should have done as a squad player. And eventually sold him to the Championship where he sort of belonged. And I kind of get the feeling I'm going to have to do this very similar thing to Gard Arsby here. I just want to click through another couple of days just because I want to know if there's any news about this stadium because it vanished. There we go. That's what I was wondering. The budget... Sorry, what? Yeah, the wage budget didn't really move. And the weird thing is, in January, I actually lessened the wage rather than increased it. The overall balance is exactly 30 million. That seems convenient. That's got to be something to do with the stadium, surely. 76 million, but only 100 grand more in wage bill compared to what we're spending right now. I'm guessing this is something to do with it. A loan of 17 million. Construction of the Arnold Mitchell Stadium, one of Exeter's heroes, will cost 53 million. It is a 27,000 capacity stadium. I wonder what its expansion space is. Additional funding for the project is secured with a stadium sponsorship deal worth 12 million. That's valuable. 17 million plus 12 million is... Well, it's effectively 30 million, isn't it? Which means, I suspect, the 23,067,830 is exactly what we had above 30 million at the end of this season. And that will be built in 2029, so we've got 3 more years at the Den. Okay. And we are going to be Category 2 at the end of this year as well, so that's lovely. So yeah, Arnold Mitchell listed under a legend. I will research him more now. Matt J entered icon status, by the way. But I'm sure for Exeter fans, that's a lovely sentiment. I'm just glad it wasn't called the Exeter Stadium. I hate it when they just name it after the club, like the Bournemouth Stadium is going to be. I'm glad they've named it after a legend. Perkins' favourite personnel. He's only ever been here on loan. But that's the last bit of news. I will be doing transfers based on this formation as well going forward. 76 million, I could buy Perkins. I'm kind of against his price tag, but we've got the money for him. 76 million! Because the other thing, of course, with buying players right now is, if we had to kick on again next season, I know we only proved by 7 points this year, but that's probably because we still can buy players worthy of the Premier League. This season, I'm hoping via a reputation boost at the end of it, we might be able to, / the players that we've already got are going to develop into Premier League players, hopefully. So, if we were to kick on and get Europe at the end of this season, the majority of those players have already been here 2 years now. So at the end of next season, the majority of them will have been here 3 years and get homegrown club status. Arsby, Murillo, although that might just be Arsby and Murillo thinking about it, because a lot of them came back in January. In fact, Arsby came back in January as well, didn't he? I ruined Markovic's. I ruined both Arsby and Markovic's potential to be ours. Why is Murillo not going to be our player? He's been with us 2 years. I know he was on loan one of those 2 years, but it was consecutive. Like, there was no gap in his time here. I mean, that's got to be a bug. Same with Castillo. Castillo's got no club trained at. Uribe will be, that's fine. Martin Saunders will be, but he's a season and a half because he was a January signing. Okay, so our homegrown club situation is a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. Maybe if we don't get a Europe for 2 years, that would be helpful. And it certainly makes me less reluctant to sell Arsby should a bid appear for him. Similarly, Murillo and Castillo. Like, if we were to get bids for those players, I'd be less against it because they can't be homegrown club, which was one of the main points of playing them so often. That's baffling. Castillo was 19 when he signed. Oh, I missed that when I signed him. It would have been 18 when I did the deal, but he turns 19 in the June before he signed. Mario, I don't understand. Mario similarly turned 19 in the June before he signed permanently, but he was here on loan before that, so that should have counted. But I think it did the stupid thing where it kind of, they go back for effectively a day and then they join permanently, which I think is what's ruined that. Well, both of them are sellable then. The thing we're saying about though, of course, is we did acquire Alan Ramsden, and we're going to be training Gerard Randall there as well as a centre-back going forward. So selling Murillo or Arsby, particularly Murillo in this situation now, is less problematic because we will have 2 English central defenders to develop through there. Right back a bigger question, of course, just because we've only got Ola Aina otherwise. All right, just a minor diversion at the end of there while I try to figure out eligibility stuff. Football Manager really needs to sort out his clarity sometimes. But thank you for joining me. Hopefully we can kick on again next year, and maybe the season as a whole will be slightly more dynamic, and maybe we can make a push for Europe, provided we get a reputation boost or sign players to kick us on as a team. 801 as a baseline. We're not going to be starting the season at 1,000-1, so that's also a bonus too. I predict we'll still be behind one of the promoted teams in terms of the prediction, but we're no longer bottom predicted. Fingers crossed next season. So until then, thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal. Until next time, ta-ra. I didn't sneeze either. Thank you.